This is the only child abduction case in the world where the abductor wrote a book about it, and we're going to read it today. The story takes place in this small town in Japan called Kobe. In June of 1988, there was an 11-year-old girl who lived with her mom and her dad. Her name was Yuka, and one day she didn't come home from school. Now, to be fair, this isn't really that unusual in Japanese culture. A lot of kids will just stay after school to do some extracurricular activities. So it wasn't until 7:30 that night when her mom started to get really worried, because if she was going to stay late at school, she would have told her mom. So they filed a missing persons report, and everyone started looking for her. They even went to the police and told them that she had been bullied at school and that she had made some pretty good friends recently, but no one had seen her or knew anything. It was 3 days later when a woman saw the news report about this missing girl, and she said, "Oh my God," because she had seen a man carrying a little girl matching her description into his car in front of the train station. He was sitting in the driver's seat and she was in the back. He was smoking a cigarette, and he had his foot out like he was waiting for her to get in. She had assumed at the time that it was her father, though, so she hadn't thought anything of it. But now she wasn't so sure. The police were very excited about this lead, and they put out a sketch of this man and asked people to come forward if they recognized him. And what happened next is crazy, because a guy who was serving in the Japanese parliament as a member of the upper house recognized himself in the sketch, and he came forward and he said, "I know that guy." In fact, he knew a lot more than he was letting on. You see, this guy's name was Toshio Suzuki, and he had actually been friends with this girl's father. But they had a falling out, and then he moved to Tokyo and started a new life. He married a woman named Kyoko, and they had a son, and they were living happily ever after. Or at least they were until now. Because once he saw the sketch, he knew in his gut that the guy in the picture was his old friend. And he also felt kind of responsible because he knew that his old friend was having some marital problems, and he figured that maybe if he talked to him, he could help him work through it. He called up his old buddy, and he asked him if he wanted to go out for a drink and catch up. And he said, sure. But when they met up, Toshio noticed something strange. His friend seemed completely normal. He didn't seem depressed. He didn't seem upset. He seemed happy, like he was in a good mood. And Toshio couldn't figure out why. Why did he call me here only to act like nothing happened? Then he saw a newspaper article in Toshio's house that mentioned the missing girl, and everything clicked. His friend was acting so strange because he was the one who kidnapped her. They drove around for a bit without saying a word, until they finally got to a highway where Toshio pulled over and said, "Let's take a break." That's when his friend broke down and admitted to him that he had kidnapped the girl. He explained that he had been planning it for a long time, and he did it because he was going through a divorce, and he just wanted someone to love him. He had prepared a whole hideout for her in his beach house. And while they were driving, he was deciding whether or not he should go through with it or turn himself into the police. This is what Toshio heard. His friend say, "I haven't decided yet what to do. Should I return her or not?" And Toshio answered, "You should return her." But obviously he didn't, because he's a bad guy. The two of them stayed silent for a while until they finally arrived at the beach house, which was located near Mount Fuji. It looked like a normal house, except for all the boarded-up windows and the security cameras mounted outside. Once they walked inside, Toshio noticed a single shoe by the door, which was the same size as the abducted girl. He tried not to think about it too much, but he couldn't help but imagine what it would look like if his own son were in that situation. Toshio demanded that his friend return the girl, and he even offered to help him cover up the crime. But he refused. He said, "No, I'm going to keep her." So Toshio left, and he went to tell the police everything that he had heard. But by the time they arrived at the beach house, it was empty. There was no sign of the girl or her kidnapper anywhere. They did find a blue backpack with her name written on it, though, which confirmed that she had definitely been there. The police spent months trying to find both of them, but no luck. They had no idea where he took her. They didn't even know if she was still alive. Meanwhile, Toshio went on with his life, and he forgot about the whole thing until one day when he opened up his mailbox and found a letter. It was from that same kidnapper, and it read, "I kidnapped a girl, but don't worry, I didn't do anything to her. I just needed someone to love me." Toshio showed the letter to the police, and they were able to confirm that the handwriting matched the guy who had rented the beach house. But they still had no idea where he had taken the girl. Then about 6 years later, in 1994, the kidnapper sent another letter, but this time it was different. This one had a postscript at the end. It said, "P.S. I killed her." Toshio was shocked. Did this guy really kill her? Or was he just trying to mess with Toshio's head? Well, we may never know, because after he sent that letter, he vanished and was never heard from again. The police did their best to investigate, but they couldn't find anything. They didn't even know what had happened to his wife and son. Like, what did they do with them? Did they kill them? Did they make them disappear? They had no answers. Then 4 years later, in 1998, the case went cold. It had been 10 years since anyone had seen that girl, and the police had given up. But Toshio was still thinking about it. He wondered how she was doing. What if she was out there somewhere living her life? Maybe she didn't even remember what happened. Maybe she had moved on. But he couldn't move on because every time he opened his mailbox, he was afraid that he would find another letter from that monster. Well, one day he did. And when he read it, his blood ran cold. Here's what it said. "Toshio, I hope your family is doing well. Mine is doing great. My daughter is now 6 years old and a first grader. We often go out to play. I can hear her laughter. It's a lovely sound. I'm glad I have her. I want to thank you again. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have met her. Thanks to you, I can live as a father now. Love, Suzuki." This guy actually had the audacity to thank Toshio for helping him kidnap his daughter. How messed up is that? And Toshio wasn't the only one who got a letter. The police received one too. It was basically the same thing. The only difference was that instead of thanking Toshio, he just talked about how happy he was with his new family. From that point on, Toshio stopped hoping that she would turn up alive. He realized that she was probably dead, and that her soul was resting in peace. But he still couldn't let it go. So what did he do? Well, he wrote a book. He wrote a fictionalized account of what happened based on the letters that he received. And he dedicated it to the girl. He hoped that by sharing his story, he could help other people understand how terrible this kidnapper was. And in a weird way, he almost succeeded, because after the book came out, hundreds of people contacted Toshio and told him about how they, too, had received creepy letters from strangers. One woman even said that she had been receiving letters from the same exact guy who kidnapped the girl. So Toshio gave the police the letters and they investigated. And guess what? The guy confessed. Here's what he said. "I wrote those letters just for fun. I didn't mean to hurt anybody." I mean, are you kidding me? That's literally the worst excuse I have ever heard. I don't even know what to say to that. What do you think? Leave it in the comments below. And if you want to learn more about crimes like these, check out these videos. But as always, I'll catch you in the next one.